whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to this Galactic Body Wisdom and Integration course together with me. This course is in a direct alignment with my most recent Galactic Human Embodiment course, which follows the Tantrica Life Force Mastery of becoming a complete sovereign in terms of how we harness, translate, and of course cultivate, which is a primary process of becoming infused with life force. And this course takes you to the depths of what does it truly mean to be alive? What is the life force? How may you be assisting this process of your own light transfusion process so that you can eventually become the planetary life server? So that is available on my self-mastery courses page. But in this course, which is a free course, I want to inspire you to as well consider taking those courses to advance yourself in that knowledge and awareness, because it's so deeply important at this time. But I also want to share a deepened understanding of what is the new ascended body mastery, why are physical vessels, why these beautiful human bodies are so important from the galactic perspective as well, not just thinking that human life is sacred from our earthly perspective, but that human life, as well as all life in terms of forms of creation, is sacred. So as you know, I'm working with my group of light beings called the Elohim, which are the holders of physical form. You can find out more about the Holy Elohim and their mission and purpose in one of my mini audio books, which is available on my books page tab. So it's a mini audio book that takes you through this nature and understanding. So that's available. But in this perspective, I want to share with you that life in creation, once a certain form is evolved, it starts to evolve. It starts this evolutionary process. It can't, in a way, go back. So divine intelligence always knows what will be created from a perspective of overseeing the whole process. And as a part of this greater process, there's many levels that are helping the seeding of this process. Once, at the level when it reaches a physical form potential, right? So before going deeper into the course, and I will explain to you what are some of the dynamic, what is the old way of us living in our bodies, the non-ascended living reality, and what is the ascended living reality through increasing the potency of life force, becoming illuminated that way. What does it truly mean to live through our light bodies? And before I begin, I want to read you something from this book from Dolores Cannon called The Custodians, because there is this beautiful paragraph that I have encircled, especially in terms of the importance of today's course. And it talks about the nature of the seeding of life on this planet. Of course, life is being seeded throughout the wholeness of creation. But I want to read you this paragraph because it so beautifully explains the importance of human form and how life, in a way, when we think life is a random process, evolution is a random process, it's not really so. There is a component of evolution that started with what we call the Genesis. But there is mostly the intelligent life that is always involved with the harboring of these species and the protection of life. When life starts to develop, at first there is almost like the incubation stage through which you are selectively choosing that which will have most capacity to evolve to a certain stage. Because if it's a random process, just how these beings who are helping the seeding process have described here, if it's random, it doesn't hold such a high capacity to hold life. So let's say from singular cellular organisms to multicellular organisms, there would be a collapse if what is coming together would not be held from the level of divine intelligence that helps, in a way to seed this, but also supersede and overlight in a way to always oversee this process as it's occurring. So this is the sentence I want to read to you first. The Watchers have helped form man. So you would consider these as angelic beings, and they have appeared as angels to people in the past. And yes, they have helped form life on this planet and evolve it to a higher degree. They are still helping at this present time to help man's evolutionary rate. They're attempting at this time to create a more perfect human body in terms of immunological response to disease and initial resistance to disease. So there will eventually be those, or that stock perhaps, of human bodies, stock, that would be most resistant to most form of disease on your planet now. The intent of this genetic engineering is to, in essence, create a more perfect physical body such that the spirit, once raised in awareness, can more perfectly translate into these more perfect bodies. Watch out for this very important sentence. A more perfect spirit, which means more highly advanced being, requires a more perfect body. Remember that I always tell you that ascension is both an ascending and descending process, with life, right, being seeded through you as a light informative process through which you are informing yourself from your higher self, and then you, as through your physical experience, you continue to formulate that mutual response back into your higher self template, as well as informing the planet. And we're going to talk about that in this presentation today. Why is this process so important? And because of the evolution that many humans are now ready for, there has to be also an evolution of human bodies. So just as well as there's a planetary ascension and the planet is going into her new form in a way, there has to be a development of the galactic human species that would correspond with, in terms of living or being able to live, to inhabit bodies on this planet, which is becoming more and more expanded through a process of physical ascension. So there's also people as physical humans who are going through this physical ascension at this time. There's those of us who are holding knowledge of life force and how can you attain this, because ascension is not something that occurs in your mind. Ascension is not something you can wish for, and it happens because you were a good person or because you fulfilled your karmic completion or all of that. Those are just the graduating templates that serve as the initial stage of preparation for what is to come next. So what I'm talking about here today is the advanced level and understanding of physical ascension, in terms of that terminology, okay? So first thing to know, life is not random. Life never was random. Life was always designed, pre-designed, and assisted through higher light intelligence. The problem with the human species is that our mind filters things as not being a part of that process. So when we think of evolution as being sparked through God, this divinity, something bigger than everything that exists, we kind of can't see, in most cases, we can't see that there's also parts of that creation that assist and kind of, help nudge life along so that it could evolve, that it was truly envisioned and imagined by that creative source. So source in itself is that pure divine love, that light essence, which at the primordial level, in truth, is just that light. It cannot, perform certain things. It doesn't have physical hands. So the words that we were shared, such as, we were created through the image and likeness of God, don't physically relate to the essence of that sentence directly. What that means is that that essence went into us as beings who are always primarily, of course, held at the essence level, because the physical expressions are what we create through our essences, what we can inhabit as different vehicles, different bodies, what we can experience as a part of life and creation. But in that form, that essence was the essence of divinity. Doesn't mean now God has hands or legs, his torso. What was created is what I call the body. The humanoid body was directly created so that it can intercept in a way that it can fully receive this galactic pulse of light, so that it can act as a perfect antenna, a conduit with its inbuilt form and the structure of 2 hands, 2 legs, a torso, a spinal column, that can directly translate, pardon me, the electricity of that divine light. So that form, as it was envisioned and created through that divine perfection, and how and what or the stages that lead into the embodiment of that form is quite a process, and yet it's quite an undertaking. So of course there's many helpers on many levels of creation and on many levels from the galactic perspective who are also as creationists or the seeders or interbreeders of light, who are assisting life so that it can develop in the right manner as it was envisioned by this greater force, that all of these aspects of creation are truly serving. So when beings of benevolence are helping to assist and spark up life along the right lines, they're actually assisting this divine creative imaging process, and we're also part of that. Those of us who are now in our physical bodies, especially if you are a volunteer soul, a soul of a higher nature, a vibrational, in a way, essence, that means that our requirement at this specific time was to be embodied. So was to be embodied. Why? Because in a position to working through creation laws and principles from the outside in, which a lot of times we call genetic manipulation or genetic restructuring, and there was a lot of experimentation done on that level, and it's always happening in parallel to the inside out, which working from the inside out is a vibrational embodiment. So it is working through the essence that as it perhaps embodies or inhabits a certain form, it already changes the structure, the cellular and then molecular structure of that, because the very essence of what lies beyond the cellular structure, which is the ensoulment structure, so that's that primary essence. From that level, its life is already being moved, it's being propelled, right? So when we talk about, again, to mention the holy Elohim, and they also are mentioned in the Bible, they're kind of mentioned in that grandiose sense, like they themselves are the creator. Not at all. They are the aspect of co-creation that, like I said, it holds the understanding and knowledge of creation principles and how life moves into form. That is held at the light level, where there's also physical aspects or beings or light beings, or some even call them different extraterrestrial groups, that are also involved with the seeding of life, which is more approach from the level of physicality, to have a physical understanding of processes. Let's call it perhaps the chemical processes, the biological processes, of course, the physical processes. You know, the understanding of physics, biology, and chemistry is a triangulation to understand our bodies as a whole, because that's the alchemy that, you know, is a participation when you understand creation at that level, at the core level, and what takes for life to become life as an experience. So we know beings who assist this process of cultivating life from the light perspective and vibrational, and beings who assist it from the outside in through genetic manipulation. Genetic manipulation, when we talk about it, nowadays it has such a negative connotation, because as you know, we're doing a lot of genetic experiments that are not perhaps very good, because the agenda is not pure. However, there are genetic experiments that these higher beings of light or the extraterrestrials are involved with, and many who are also now becoming more involved, or evolved humans, that are of the nature of the expanding life. So like we said, making our bodies higher in terms of how much light they can receive. I remember years back when I started my ascension process through my awakening, and I was going through intense light activations during my sleep, and these beings kept popping in and doing vibrational work and sound work through me. And I said, what is this? What is this all about? And they said, well, we have to help prepare your body so it can withstand all of this, not just from the outside influences that we're currently all the time experiencing. And they're not all positive, because there was a lot of genetic manipulation occurring at the level of our food and the alteration of our pure water, and a lot of toxicity, but also from the level of changing the body's frequency so that it can be ready to be the vessel or the conduit for this higher life force coming through, which are those of us who are more advanced beings on Earth at this time. You know, on our level, we're not seen as advanced. It's just we are as we are. But from the perspective of being here on Earth, we can be seen as advanced through the energy we emanate. And in many cases, it can be very intense energy. So our bodies have to be prepared. And that's what I said. In that time, in that relation of the word genetic manipulation, it is simply the altering of the frequencies, perhaps of your molecules, so that they could take in the proper chemicals that are being charged through your nervous system as we're being upgraded in our ascension. But also in terms of beings who are constantly dedicating their specialization to, of course, serve humanity. And oftentimes they're seen in a negative way because people don't understand what's the nature of these experiments is to help move life along, because life is always expanding and evolving. And from its beginning of time, when it was created here on this planet, it was watched over, it was nurtured, it was always monitored, because monitoring is needed. So we're seeing whether it's going in the right direction, whether the negative influences are not so bad, that our bodies, are built like it was explained in this paragraph, so they could fight diseases in terms of being able to be vibrationally so strong. They don't go into this mode of, I don't know, of really becoming bad bodies, not being able to withstand either these toxins coming from the environment or these higher celestial energies that our planet is being constantly, in a way, infused with. And there's this light transference of cosmic rays that's happening on a daily basis. So our bodies have to, in a way, constantly be shifted. And that's the process I wanted to explain, that it's not a random process and we're not alone in it. It's a bigger collective, and it's on the galactic level. That's the first thing I want to talk about. The second thing, now that we got the clear, what does it mean working from the inside out, which is what we do, especially when volunteer souls come into a form, we alter the physical human forms through our vibration. And what happens as a result of that, our bodies start changing, but also we have a direct impact on our environment. So because of that, we are sending out emanations that are calling forth for life around us, in our environment, and on the planet in general to expand. And if not, the life force will happen, and it will just create that whoosh, of that cleansing frequency anyway, because that's what's meant to happen on this planet. So we're bringing in a way a higher life force transfusion. And I've talked about this before in many of my videos. Why is this becoming so important? Why is the physical body of such utter importance? So if you watch the first free course about the mission for these beings, volunteer souls, starseeds, walk-ins, luminaries, all of that, this is the process that tells us what we're doing, where we're actually here at the level of the foundational work, which is creational. So we have evolutionary and creational. And I've talked to you before that creationists and evolutionary people, they should merge, because it truly is a one experience. Creation and the evolution of that creation is one. It's one and the same. So now that we know that working from inside out through our vibration and the outside in, which is our assistance coming through the light family, or people call them extraterrestrials, so beings with this knowledge that are helping to assist this body process, we're all in it together. Now we know that, okay? So our new body template through our vibrational embodiment is, what it means is that we're using our life force cultivation and this translation of it through our body's process to increase a light quotient. When our light quotient is at a certain level, you can imagine, right? Cells gather light, they gather light from your ensoulment. That's the essence level, which comes first before it's cellular and molecular and, molecule. It's hard to pronounce certain words for me, sorry. So molecular, yeah. And that structure and that level, it happens from that vibrational patterning, or it's kind of like being drawn from there upwards or overlit by this essence level. So when it reaches a certain level, it produces another response, which is a biochemical response. So in a way, our electromagnetic nature of vibration causes this. It's almost like it reaches a certain level, like a crucial point, or culmination point, where it just reaches that new level. So it's almost like our ensoulment trigger the process of this high vibrational shift that takes place physically in our body, like I said, through the altered biochemical process. So through the nervous system, that's what we're receiving. I'm sorry I'm talking fast. I'm receiving directly as well at this time when I'm speaking. So if I don't pronounce certain words correctly the first time, forgive me, because it's for certain things that are happening. There isn't a direct human word translation, so we do the best as it's possible at this time. So I want to explain now the process of the shifting between the old system and the new system. As you know, I've explained this before, that the new body, the galactic pulse and twin body, is fully connected. And I know a lot of people think they're already fully connected just because you're connected with your intuition or source. That doesn't mean you're connected at the core galactic level, okay? So this is a process. And like I said, it's a both side process, because your body, your physical body, needs to be informed at the right degree, and vice versa. So there's an ascension and descension process that happening simultaneously, so that this platform in our physicality is being able to be withstands. It can withstand at a certain level, right? So it can be withhold at that level. So the old way, that's this number 1 picture, if you can see it here on our screen board, is basically the lower plane template, which is the light that is based on the information we're receiving and our body's receiving is based on memory. And a lot of times we call that the genetic lineage. This is basically the astral template blueprint, and it's circulatory. So we're always kind of like coming back. And that's why a lot of the things are what we say and explain through family diseases, diseases in the family, genetic bloodline diseases, all of that. It's because the information keeps on circling through this lower astral, well, we call it the lower template, or the lower planes template, or the astral plane template. Sorry, I talked a lot today. So this is circulatory because basically you're using memory, or sometimes we call it the record memory, to constantly infuse your database or your information, how your body functions, and everything in your body needs a template so that it knows, right? You say, well, how does my body just know what to do? The respiratory system, the nervous system, how does it all just function? Well, it draws from that template, and it's a natural self-sustaining template, but it's not yet the template that is based on the light body. Okay, so this template, because it's circulatory, it has built in this constant desire to move up, whether the human that is in the body is wanting ascension, consciously or not. There is a constant inner program to ascend. It's not specific to this lifetime only, but as you know, as Earth humans, we say this life, that life, past life, future life. In a way, all life is one. So if galactic civilization, they have a certain life, and it can be very much longer in comparison to our earthly years, because here lives are like succinct. What is it called? That they kind of follow each other. So a soul does not complete everything in that life. It keeps coming back and back, and that's called reincarnation, because it constantly has this program. I need to elevate, I need to go deeper, but many times it's unable to, because it's so circulatory and it always keeps coming back. And that's why people say, well, we keep having the same problems, we carry over the memories. And when you do hypnotic regression work, you will see people having memories from past, these current lifetimes that are still affecting them now. Why? Well, because of this template. They're drawing forth information from this template. And that's not a very well-informed, illumined existence yet, because when you are divinely intelligent, why would you constantly recreate disease for yourself? You wouldn't. So that's not yet based on pure divine intelligence, is it? So there is a constant built-in desire here in this body template to ascend, of course. And eventually, through these succinct lives, the soul comes at the point when it is ready, when it has gathered, even like little progress, it has gathered enough light quotient, at least to understand the process, so then it could unfold, it can open up to this greater capability, okay? So this circulatory process is not the highest evolutionary level, and the majority of the humankind has been functioning at this level of reincarnation. Well, reincarnation at the greater level is also the reincarnation, constant recycling of your life force, but it does not inform itself at the higher level of illumination. So on the other hand, this higher galactic human, the new body, the ascended body template, is always a spiral. So this number 2 is spiraling, is a spiraling process, and it's luminescent and it's self-built, right? Because it's building, this light body was built through a light quotient increase, through this luminosity and what people call the enlightenment process, or the elevation. The higher and higher, right, your light expands, the further up you go in terms of soul reaching higher and higher potentials of spirit, okay? And spirit in its form of physical expression, we would say, well, it's pure life force. So in that change, right, in the comparison, this is when you're always informed by constant circling, spiraling of all these energies that are always there and always exist, and they're here to inform you, and they're always speaking of life. So life is always self-informing, and because life expands, and if there's other planes of being that are expanding, you're receiving that, and it always goes into your physical form because you are the recipient that receives directly from this pulse of light. Well, in the other template, you just kept on recycling, and like I said, being scum, it's a different life, but a similar story, and that's why it's called reincarnation, not ascension. So when the soul is ready to start the physical ascension journey, it becomes open to this two-sided, or the infinity symbol way of the stream of communication, which is a both-side information. Well, it's not two, right? Because the information is all, it's from all life. You're receiving from the pulse of life, which is all components of life in creation. And at the same time, you are also informing the earth, which means your physical existence upon the planet. So when you become a part of this, and I literally experience this all the time, this divine energy coming in will cause a ripple or an electric sensation in your spinal column, and the energy starts to move up, while at the same time there is you, the information goes up into your higher self, comes back down, and it starts to inform the earth, which means it starts to inform the platform of the physical existence, which is our planet. It starts to inform it through this spiraling notion, and it will give it information. Well, at this higher level, once you lift up a degree, and it's a gradual process, you inform back your physical structure on the planet, and you kind of inform it what you need, how you need it, and so that the planet, as it's ascending, it's also helping us to build these new bodies. We don't really get that because a lot of people don't get the connectedness with the planet. A lot of people say, well, we're not truly connected with the planet because the connection is only with our inner source. Well, if we are beings who exist upon a planet, our planetary existence is interdependent. So our existence on the planet is interdependent with the planet and the planetary life force. So we cannot exclude that from the entire equation, right? So when we receive this, right, is being informed, our body's being informed, we feel this raising, this ascending energy. At the same time, it will also descend, and it will come back to earth, and you will feel that like a pulsating or a bubbling sensation in your base chakra, but you will feel the energy moves down. The energy, you will almost, I always see like a little spiral goes down into the earth, and I always said, ooh, I'm bubbling up again. And I love the feeling because it's just so great. And at that time is usually you're building a solid grounded foundation with your new body on the new earth template body. So the ascended body communication is formed, okay? So you're doing that vibrationally, and remember the outside in, as I want to say this too, genetic manipulation is not just something you would say it happens in a laboratory, you know, ET laboratory somewhere there in a spaceship. It is also the direct genetic manipulation. It's a natural process which we receive through cosmic rays. I forgot to add that at the beginning, so I'm going back a bit because, you know, I'm cyclical and spiraling at the same time. So this occurs because it's also a part of the process that it occurs through direct light transference, and we're receiving it from the outside, and then we're vibrationally expanding it from the inside. So why were these beings that I call the volunteer souls, or high vibrational souls, advanced beings, so needed at this time? Is because we help to inform Earth of the process. We help to bring in the light genetic specific that is required for this process that, you know, is the physical ascension and the new living platform. So the new seeds, the seeds of new life, you know? Okay. So the second process is a spiraling process, is fully luminescent and it's self-built. So physical body is built through the light quotient that we build through the connection with the light body. And building the light body, so our physical body through the light body is a divine intelligent and luminescent information. So it's being divinely informed. It's not this recycling of the same old information. And it's also, you know, if people have tendencies to repeat patterns of their parents, or, you know, parents have been drinking, I'm drinking too, and you might want to ascend, but you're always going back to the old ways of being, is because there's still record memory held here. And you need to do a lot of this, you know, it's like this clearing of this, because our genetic structure is being altered at the light genetic level. So it's being informed first through the divine light, illumined, intelligent information, and then it becomes physical. Okay, so a lot of people who want to do the change is like, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to stop drinking, and they only work with the change at the physical level. They never build a permanent change in their inbuilt light body template structure. So as you know, the many great yogis who have been attaining the physical ascension path, they had to build this, what they call the eternal life or the immortality factor. It was an internal process. They didn't achieve that from the outside in. So what we're doing now is, aside from that and the inner life force mastery, we're also understanding this process that we have with the galactic pulse. And with this greater transfer of light, that is this direct genetic change or mutation even, that's happening at the level of the entire planet and us as species living on it, okay? So here at the first template, which is old and it's outdated, and that's where we have all the diseases and we're prone and exposed to so much. You know, when we say there's so much happening now with the toxicity rising on the planet and our food and poisoning of our waters, and the chemtrails, that of course everything goes back into the soil, into the water, and then it becomes our food eventually, right? Because all soil, all water is one. It's unified. Everything always comes back, you know, whether it's in the air. You don't just get pollutions in the air. It travels, it fluctuates. When you understand the nature of cohesion of all the elements, you will know that, because it's all alchemy. So when this occurs, and some people would have reactions to it and other people don't, is because these people have probably done more advanced work here, vibrationally and, you know, cosmically, being attuned to the galactic pulse of light, being informed in the galactic sense. And because of that, their bodies are more, they're stronger, they're more rigid, you know, not rigid in a bad sense, but they're very firm. They're able to sustain and withhold energies or energy impacts that the first bodies based on this recycling of energy are not. And that's why a lot of these people are getting sick, you know, and they're being in the hospital so much right now because there's such intense bombardment with toxicity now on our planet, you know. So it is a part of the agenda of manipulating the population, right? And the numbers of the population, which is, you know, in preference to how some people would want it. But we are free beings, so we have the right to choose whether we would die or live. You know, it has to come in our own soul choice. So for us to do that, the only way is to increase the divine intelligence of our bodies. So while this first one, right, has this constant desire to ascend, because, you know, everyone understands that this evolution is first the inner evolution. Your spirit in form wants to kind of understand and wants to have a greater potential to experience things. So how can you have all the advanced gifts and abilities in your body and being limitless in so many ways if you have a body that's so rigid and it can't really transcend disease, you know, and being so sensitive to all the environmental impacts? So while that is always the case, in the second case, there's a spiraling and there's a desire to merge and unify. So instead of ascending, because this body is already unified with everything, with all, there is this constant desire to merge and bring more light. You know, when you say, oh, the sun, you know, well, people on this level, because they're so manipulated, they're afraid of the sun. They're being told it's bad, it's cancerogenous, it creates all these different diseases and it's bad for you. Well, yeah, of course, because the radiation level is too intense for some people at this level of the body to withhold that. But when you increase vibrational potency within you, you will have different reaction to that radiation coming from the outside. And again, it has to be an informational process from both ends. It's not just ascending upwards, it has to be downwards and integration as well. And that's the main essence of my physical ascension teachings, you know, through the path of illumined understanding and illumined union. So this unification is when the up and down are one. They're basically one process, okay? And this is, and it forms the illumined crystalline body form, okay? So at this level, when you start to kind of like move from this template to this one, which is a process, and in many cases, while you're very much held to this form, it's very recommended to use the violet fire, because the violet fire in itself is very intense, it's very strong, and it was therefore through many masters recommended to physical humans living on earth, you know, especially at this time, because it helps to advance them. And it's not just spiritual advancement when you start to recognize and know more, but it's also directly related with the advancement of your physical body. Because even if you do some research on violet light and the properties of being exposed to violet light, you will read a lot about this, the alchemical process and how it affects the cells in your body, okay? So this is very important in this passageway. But also what is important is for a lot of us here who are conduits for this new template, which is a self-upgrading. It's a very... it's like a natural divine intelligence. It's the body that knows what it needs. It's the body that tells you what it needs. It's the body that knows where it needs to go, how to move energy, when it wants to exercise, when it doesn't. It cannot participate anymore in the mental processes. You tell your body, I want to do this exercise now. The body says, nope, because the body is so highly intelligent at this degree that it completely knows what it needs in each moment. Okay, so that's an illumined body. So you're not just illumined as a being, you know, this ensoulment, the essence level, you're helping to bring that into the physical form. And that's the gradual process. So those of us who are kind of pioneers at that level of physical ascension, what we're doing is we're helping create a template for the entirety of those who are choosing this path to kind of read from that template. You know, it's kind of like you go to the Akashic Records, all knowledge is stored there, right? And something that hasn't been done yet before and it's done, it goes right back into that light transference, which is shared instantly with all. It's almost like if I do a live video and I press live, even though I'm doing it here in my living room and I'm having the experience, I can instantly share it with everyone watching, and everyone who will watch a little later on in the group energy is still there and it's still felt. What this means is that this is available, it becomes available to all. So this public and the social media and all of that is, in a way, a representation of how light travels. So everything we've mastered, everything we've worked for, we've established, and a lot of us, like I said, we're here to pioneer the wisdom of the integrated embodiment, not just spirituality somewhere up there. We're helping to bring that knowledge to the whole at the planetary level, in the planetary structure. Like I said, the spiraling process goes down. It informs the planet how this is done, what is needed, and the planet responds. And you will feel that response, and I can share it with you. It's almost like orgasmic energy or feeling. It's like a pull, again, in your base chakra that feels very pleasant. And this is when you know that it's, in a way, it's a direct response from the planetary structure that helps to build a blissful light charge in your physical body. So that about sums it up. So informing the Earth as the planetary ascension structure is a huge part of, especially one of the specific groups of volunteer souls who are here committed to the physical body process. And, me as one of these beings, as you know, I was always so deeply active with the body. I'm very hyperactive, and I was learning how to move so much of this energy through the physical body. And sometimes it failed me because I had just so much energy at this ensoulment level that I didn't know how to bring it forth. And if I didn't do it properly, I got tired because the body needed to, like I said, be held at a specific level for that to be an interchangeable and, flowing process in that kind of way. So that about sums it up. If you want to know more, if you want to know what does it mean to be a galactic human, understand the whole process, understand yourself as a part of this high council, to unify with the high council energy, to understand what does it mean to have a new body template, how to work with it, and so much more of that. There's also a soul embodiment course available on my page. Also, the cosmic dance for the galactic human is one of the possibilities to increase a light quotient in our body directly, because it's informing ourselves vibrationally from within and sending again that back out as informed life force. So that's the nature of cosmic dance, is not just you're dancing, enjoying, having fun, but basically you are informing physical life on the planet through the intelligence of your body. So that's kind of mind-boggling, and it's kind of convoluting, but in its very essence, it's very simple. So imagine one example of beings, right? A prototype of beings who they have grew in their mind power so much, the power of their thought, the power of what they can create, how they can travel through light, right? And they have all this knowledge. But they suddenly realize, wow, our bodies are not intact. We can't use all of this. We can't send it through our bodies, because the moment we do, we will almost like self-implode. It would just be too much. So these beings would eventually have to find out, well, we must also increase the potentiality of our bodies to be able to use and harness those gifts. And let me tell you that this is one of the future scenarios and prototypes of Earth humans. Is not just what many galactics are going through or had to go through, but it's the gift that humanity can go through when they start to elevate back and move their harnessing forces of life at the galactic level. So it's very much a gradual process, but it's a deep process of understanding how love works, how love is the essence of everything in creation. Everything in creation is structured through love. Like I said, nothing is put out there in creation randomly, because then everything, the moment it's created, it will have to run its course. So why would creation put something out there that is not meaningful for the variety and the completion of the whole? It doesn't make sense. So when you realize that, you will know you're here for a reason. You will start to respect your body more. You will start to gain greater wisdom of how to work with your body. This, what I'm sharing here today in this free course, is not just to in a way, people say, well, the body is not important. It's all about the spirit. Well, if you see life in creation as why is so diverse, why is it so beautiful, it's not random, then you would understand that creation as it is, its constant evolutionary cycles and different forms of life existing, it's just as valuable, because it's what spirit moves through. It's a conduit. It's the channel for spirit to express itself in so many numerous forms. And again, that is the knowledge of creation principles that the group and family of light of the Elohim hold. They hold the reverence and sacredness for the human form, the understanding of how to work with life force to increase the potency of life so that it can go out, expand, and become illumined. That's basically everything I wanted to share for today. Consider taking the either Tantrika Life Force Mastery Course, Galactic Human Embodiment, Cosmic Dance, Soul Embodiment. All of these are very much in direct relation to what I shared today. I hope I sparked up some of your interest to go deeper, because if you're here, and especially if you're watching this video, and I do recommend reading some of the aspects of this book. It's kind of interesting. It has some interesting perspectives. It's also a little old, so a lot of these things transpired already, in a sense that we've moved a little higher in terms of receptivity on the collective human level, but it still has some interesting information there. So if you're interested, and remember, if you are a part of this flow, this is not just meant to inform you intellectually. This was meant to inspire you so that you understand yourself as a greater conduit for spirit in human form to increase, because it is not just our sense of, like, it's a sense of duty, it's a sense of inner innate responsibility, because life is programmed to always evolve at the higher degree. You know, when you look and observe of certain life forms or certain animal forms of life or plant, they're like always elevating. You know, it's like a higher species and higher. It's a natural inbuilt, it's kind of like a structure, because love wants to experience even deeper and deeper and be totally immersed in every single aspect of life. So creationist, evolutionarist, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but it's all a part of beautiful thing called unity consciousness. And thank you for watching this video. Watch both of these free courses if you can, because they're kind of like a part of togetherness, as always, with so much love, beauty, and power, and the love of the sacredness of human form and all life forms in creation and all life as it is. Thank you. So be it.